Hello friends, my name is Ankit Suman and I am going to teach you history and political science at Sadhana Edusphere. I am here as arts faculty. My short bio is like this. I have completed my graduation with political science honors from Motilal Nehru College, University of Delhi with first division. I have completed my 12th from Delhi Tamil Education Association DTEA Senior Secondary School with CBSE board 93.8%. I have completed my 10th from Adarsh Secondary School with 9.6 CGPA. I have an experience of teaching for more than 4 years. I have taught different classes of students from 11th standard to 12th standard as well as 5th to 10th standard. I have taught history, political science and informatics practices as well. Thank you so much.
Hello, this is Ankit Suman, and I'm going to teach you Challenges of Nation Building, which is the first chapter of second book of political science for 12th standard, India since independence. The first page, when you open of this chapter, it itself gives us an overview that what this chapter is speaking about. You can see here that here are three bullets which tells us that three distinctive topics this chapter is going to tell us. The first topic that we are going to read and discuss in this chapter is that how the freedom and partition which came with freedom was a challenge for our nation. How did we deal with it? How our leaders deal with it? What were the consequences of that partition? This we are going to study in this topic. The second topic that we are going to discuss in this chapter is how the India was integrated, or what this country is called, how this India was made by the very lovely and the very respected person of our country, the Iron Man of India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. How did he manage to make this country, this united country? The third topic of this chapter which we will discuss is the internal boundary and the internal making of our country, which took place after the year 1956 in a broad sense, where we'll see how new states emerged and how it came to be known as the State for India, the Union of India. So these are the three topics that we will cover in this chapter. Along with that, we will also understand through some cartoons that how difficult this scenario for our nation was. With that also, we'll try to understand, with the maps also, we'll try to understand how India looked at the time of independence and how it looked in the following years. And we'll try to understand through some stories and poems that what these literature people, this literature laureates felt about India. So this very first page of this chapter is showing us a picture of people flying both India and Pakistan flags. This is a picture from the side of West Bengal, and the people were sharing this thought that there is a peace. This is written here: Hindus and Muslims in Kolkata in 1947 marked the end of communal violence that happened just after the partition. Jointly flying the flags of India and Pakistan from trucks patrolling the city. This rare photograph captured the joy and freedom and the tragedy of partition in India and Pakistan. So this is the very first page of this chapter telling us about it. Now, coming to the chapter, this chapter is named as Challenges of Nation Building. Friends, I would like to tell you that the time when India got freedom, it was not a topic of, it was not a discussion of freedom only, but it was a painful event of partition as well. India was not only freed from the Britishers, it was not only given independence, but it was also torn into two pieces. We all know that Pakistan was not a different country, it was a part of India only, and it was newly created because the leaders of Pakistan, the Muslim League, and its leader Muhammad Ali Jinnah wanted a separate nation or a separate constituent assembly in the same country, which meant he wanted two constitutions in the same country, two set of rules in the same countries, one for the Hindus and one for the Muslims. He was the flag bearer of the idea of two nation theory. He decided that for Muslims, he wanted a separate rules, and for Hindus, there must be separate rules. Or else, if you cannot give to them these rules, just give them a new nation. This was an idea which started taking place in 1940s, and ultimately in 1946, this led to a direct action day which started killing, and the leaders of the great movement, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, and many leaders had to go on the back foot, and they finally agreed for the new nation called Pakistan. But Pakistan was not just a nation, it was a set of complex. Even the India was a set of complex at that, because the Pakistan's idea was of making a nation full of Muslims. But the problem with Pakistan and this idea was that was that Muslims were not constituted in a particular region of this whole British India. At various places, they were in majority. So you cannot make a number of Pakistans. You cannot make so many Pakistans in just one place. So it was decided that Pakistan will be made of two places, the East Pakistan and the West Pakistan. As we can see here, the idea might appear simple to all of us, but it presented all kinds of difficulties. There was no single belt of Muslims majority areas in British India. So there were two areas of concentration of Muslims, one in the West and one in the East. So these two places were called Pakistan. So one was the West Pakistan and the other one was the East Pakistan. The East Pakistan later on further was also divided from Pakistan and became Bangladesh. Okay, so this is the story of how Pakistan was created. Now, another problem that Pakistan and the India faced was that both these places had a huge number of majority, which was minority for this country's perspective. Like if this country's population is 10 lakh, and there the population of the minorities is 1 lakh, which is Hindus or Muslims in India, it was a huge number as well. Like 1 lakh is not a short number, though you call them minority, but it was not a shorter number. It was a greater number. 1 lakh or 10% is a greater number, and this is just an example. And this kind of minority was seen in both the places. Places like Bengal, places like Punjab, these were the places where the minority was in majority. So those states which had a minority of that, according to that upcoming nation, was to be sent in the nation according to their majority. So suppose Punjab, the East Punjab had Sikhs or Hindus in majority, whereas the West Punjab had Muslims large numbers. So the West Pakistan Punjab was given to the West Pakistan, and the East Punjab was transferred to India. So the Punjab that we know today in India was transferred to India. Similarly happened to the Bengal side. The East Bengal was given to the East Pakistan, whereas the West Bengal remained with India as it had a large number of Hindus or non-Muslim majorities. Now, what was India? If we go with Jinnah's idea of two-nation theory, Pakistan for Muslims and Hindustan or India for Hindus, we would be called ourselves as a Hindu nation, right? No. India did not accept itself as a Hindu nation. India accepted itself as a secular nation, which constituted of all the religions even the atheists as well. So India was not a nation of Hindus only, it was a nation of Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christianity, Buddhists, Jain, Jews, Parsi, and all the small and large sects, which were not even described as religions. So India was not a Hindu nation. So this was decided, whereas Pakistan was very strictly a Muslim nation. This was decided with both the nations. Now this is how both the nations were created. But when they were given independence, the problem that immediately that they had to face was of migration, was of displacement, was of partition. India was partitioned, British India was partitioned into two nations. We just now discussed how India and Pakistan were formed. So Pakistan was a newly built nation, and both these nations asked their citizens to transfer from one places to get transferred from one places to another if they wish so. So this was a very complex idea for the citizens, because for a long time you are living on a place and suddenly your governments or your leaders come and tell you that your place is now a new nation. Now you are not our citizen anymore, and you will be a citizen of a different country, you will be a citizen of some different rulers. This will be a very tragic news to be heard by you, and you may not understand this, you may feel it different, awkward, but yes, this was the truth that happened to so many of people. Our grandparents faced this same problem, this happened with them. So they had to decide whether to live in the same place where they were living for the thousands of years, or they had to move to a new nation. Many people, many celebrities moved to a new nation. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan remained with Pakistan. He was an Indian. Our former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, very famous, Lal Krishna Advani, they are from Pakistan only. Very famous novelist and columnist Kushwant Singh was from Pakistan. They moved to India. Ramanand Sagar, whose Raman we saw a few months ago, he came back to India. And the worst thing that they had to face was that they started with zero when they came to India. They had their lands, they had their villas, apartments, buildings, and bungalows there. They had their whole business there. They had to leave all that business, all those things in Pakistan only, and they came back to India. Well, this not just happened to the rich class of both these nations, like the same happened to Indian people as well. So many of Indian people moved to Pakistan that Manto was a famous writer whose movie we saw 2 to 3 years ago. Mando was from Bombay only, and he moved to Pakistan. This did not only happen to the rich people, but with the common people as well. And they were the one who had to suffer the most. The common people were maimed, they were killed by the locals. If you were a Hindu and you wanted to live in newly built India and you were living in Pakistan, you had to take a train to India. So when the locals who were Muslims came to realize that Hindus are going towards India, they are fleeing towards India, they would kill you. They would kill you, and trains full of dead bodies reach Amritsar, reach Delhi. Like, this was a tragic event. This was a massacre, and this massacre was unfortunately done by those who could not control it. Yes, they were our very loved leaders. They could not control this whole scenario. The same happened with the Muslims who left India and fled to Pakistan. They were killed by many of the people in trains and at the railway stations only at some times. So there were so many tragic incidents you can see in various movies as well. The Gadar Ek Prem Katha, showed this incident by Sunny Deol, and Garam Hawa, a movie came very long ago, showed this trauma. Bhag Milkha Bhags also projected this scene. So there are so many movies made on partition and the trauma and the tragic incidents related to that. Well, my dear friends, I would like to tell you that there were ladies as well. Imagine you have to flee to a new place. What would happen to ladies of your family? You are running, and a large number of crowd is coming to kill you with swords in their hands, with bullets in their hands, with revolvers in their hands. They might abduct ladies of your family. They might abduct them, kidnap them, rape them, and even kill them. They might they might abduct them, kidnap them, and convert them into a new religion, marry them. And this is what happened with ladies. The ladies were the one who suffered the most. They suffered the most. They were converted, they were abducted, attacked, and not just by their opponents, they were killed by their own people only. They were killed by their family members, which was known as honor killing. They were killed by their family members only so that their honor would be saved, so that their ladies would not be raped or killed by their enemies. So this is what happened to the ladies. Also, those priests to the new places were not accepted as dignitaries. They were not given the dignity. They were not regarded as civilian. So this is what happened with our people. This is what happened with ladies and children. So this is the tragic incident of partition. Our leaders decided to somehow manage this. Mahatma Gandhi took the fast into death. He suffered the riots turned places in West Bengal, and his fast unto death, his uh, his tour made it possible that the West Bengal came to the situation of peace. He reached Delhi, and then Delhi also came to peace. Many writers, poets, they discussed and expressed this ruthlessness of the killing and suffering of displacement and violence in their novels, short stories, poems, and films. So this is what happened to the partition. This was a major challenge to the government and administration of India. Not just that, many things were also distributed, were also divided, not just people, but the things as well. The paper clips, the chairs, the offices, the cars. The president of India took the buggy, and the president or the premier of Pakistan took the BMW. So these were the things that were converted. I mean, divided among both these nations. There were competing political interests behind these conflicts. There were so many groups that wanted India to be a Hindu nation, Pakistan to be Muslim nation. Somehow, our presidents, our premiers, our prime ministers talk to all our chief ministers, talk to all our leaders to give uh, asylum to all the new refugees, the migrants, and to help them in all the manner they can. Mahatma Gandhi was killed by these extremists. So this was his sacrifice, and after his demise, after his murder, many things came to normalcy. So this was the first topic that we discuss is about how the partition, the displacement was a challenge for both the countries. So there is a topic given to our research. I would like all of you to discuss with your parents. How did they discuss with their parents or grandparents, or if you have grandfather or grandmother today as well, ask them what did they feel during the partition, what were their situation during the partition. So there is a story that Shweta noticed that her Nana, maternal grandfather, would get very quiet whenever anyone mentioned Pakistan. One day she decided to ask him about it. Her Nana told her about how he moved from Lahore to Ludhiana from partition. Both both her Nana's parents were killed. Even he would not have survived, but a neighboring Muslim family gave him shelter and kept him in hiding for several days. They helped him finding some relatives, and that is how he managed to cross the border and start new life. So, have you heard a similar story? Ask your grandparents or anyone of that generation about their memories of Independence Day, about the celebration, about the trauma of partition, about the expectations they had from independence, and write down at least two of these stories. So, we'll cover this topic only today, and we'll later on cover the integration of princely states, how the princely states were integrated to India, and in the end, we'll discuss the reorganization of states. This is the heading, reorganization of states. We'll discuss it later on in the end. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you so much.